Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Tony Cordy. To start the official proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Jarrah country, of which the members and elders of the Jarrah community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Just so everybody's aware, this is a COVID-safe event, and it's been planned in line. Been planned in line with the Victorian government's COVID-safe public event framework. We ask you to help by following a few simple rules. We ask you to please check in using the QR code, which is located at the entrance. If you can't do this, please ask one of our staff members to assist you. Please greet people with a smile or a wave. Don't shake hands, hug or kiss those who aren't from your household. Maintain a physical distance of 1.5 metres between yourself and anyone you don't live with. Always carry a face mask unless you have a lawful reason not to. It's strongly recommended you wear a mask when you cannot keep 1.5 metres distance. Practice good hygiene. Wash your hands regularly and cough and sneeze into a tissue or your elbow, and please use the hand sanitizer provided. If you have any COVID symptoms, in the interest of keeping us all safe, we'll be grateful if you would please leave immediately, get tested, and of course, isolate while you wait for the results. Thank you. We've got all 7 councillors present, and councillors, any leave of absence to note? Nothing? Thank you. Councillors, declarations of interest and conflicts of interest. Councillor McClure.
Mayor, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest with the Froome's Road matter.
Thanks for that. Please note that, Gussie, and we'll ask Councillor McClure to leave when that item on the agenda comes up. Thank you for that. Any other conflicts of interest? Thank you. Confirmation of minutes, councillors. Councillor Driscoll.
I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Mount Alexander Shire Council held on the 16th of March 2021 be confirmed.
Seconder, please. Councillor Maltby. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Acknowledgements. No acknowledgements this evening. Public question time. In terms of public question time, there's quite a few here this evening, and I'll just mention if in relation to the Farnsworth Street matter, because it's a planning matter and it's on the agenda, you're not able to address council about that matter this evening. Council will make a determination on that matter in the agenda. So the other thing is, in terms of public question time, if you can keep your address or questions to council to 3 minutes, then we will have a time clock running on that, but we'll give you a warning when your time's up. The other thing is, for people that are talking about Froome's Road, I understand there's a lot of interest in that issue, and if somebody else has already made the point, we don't need to hear the same things over and over. So if you've got new information, that's great, but prefer to keep the public question time to a reasonable time. So, councillors, can I have a motion to suspend standing orders, please? Councillor Henderson. Seconder, please. Councillor Driscoll. All in favour? Okay, so we'll invite questions from the floor. So please put your hand up if you'd like to ask council a question. Okay, I've been asked to do the written question first, so just hang on a moment. This one is from Scott Medwell. Dear Council, at your last meeting, 16th of the 3rd, 21, Councillor Maltby made the following statement in relation to the proposed music festival at 100 Allendale Road, Elphinstone. An activity like this will boost the economy, and history tells us that visitors to the area continue to come back once they have visited. Mr. Medwell's question is, what documented evidence is Councillor Maltby basing this statement on, and can he provide it as an attachment for the next council meeting? Councillor Maltby, would you like to reply to that?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Very simply, my comment was based on the tourism information available at the time.
Thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. Okay, we'll now go to the floor. So if people put their hand up, yes, somebody's got their hand up the back there, so you can go first, sir. Please introduce yourself, and if you say who you're representing, if you're representing an organisation, but yeah, please make sure we can hear you. Thank you.
My name is Ian Edwards. I'm representing the Froome's Road Action Group.
Sorry, your first name again?
Ian Edwards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, council employees, we've come a long way since the vote on February the 20th, 2020, when the council voted to build a 2-lane bridge on Froome's Road. Last year's notes from the council officers, who have now long since moved on, of course, gave a few quick reasons why the bridge had to be 2-lane. The first, and I quote from the council minutes, the bridge is on an access route between a significant local industry and the Calder Highway. Well, now the council officers have accepted our evidence that this area has long been designated.
The Alexander Shire has authority over this road over Vic roads. And in the past, the Alexander Shire has taken some action on this hazardous section of road by implementing signs on either end of this dangerous section. And they are yellow speed advisory signs of 30 kilometers an hour. This should give you an idea of the hazardous conditions that exist for the Alexander Shire to have it implemented in the past. Speed advisory signs have only 30 kilometers an hour, which are, by the way, not enforceable by the police. And now with this impending increase in traffic, which includes heavy trucks with a 2-lane bridge, this hazardous section of road will inevitably become even more hazardous to the public. Another virtually unchangeable and hazardous consequence from this decision. I please ask the Alexander Shire Council to reflect on the possibility of refurbishing the existing 1-lane bridge and to vote no on the development of a 2-lane bridge on Froome's Road. And thank you very much for this time.
Thank you. Okay, next question, please, down the front.
Good evening, councillors. I'm Susan Turner. I don't live in Froome's Road or Burnett Road or Mary Street, but I've lived in this area since 1969. I actually live over similar area, the other side of Barker Street in Munro Court. The 3 previous speakers have said most of what I would endorse. I wrote a letter to all councillors about this matter. Councillor Gardner answered me. Thank you. I just want to reinforce the fact that to me it's about the 1-lane bridge is the attention, but that whole simple stretch is dangerous, small, narrow road, especially the Mary Street bit and the bend. It is zone rural living zone as far as I know, residential, essentially suburban, rural suburban area. And to contemplate a 2-lane bridge we will have trucks, even B-doubles, attempting to go winding round that road. There's no room to put pavements. There's no safety for pedestrians and people that live there that walk. The Shire encourages people to walk and cycle to stay fit. Only got to read our websites, and it's a package to me. It's about from the entrance of the large commercial venture that we now have up in Richards Road. And I personally have timed the two routes, and there's virtually no difference if you stick to the speed limit. But there is no reason to me why Walker Street shouldn't be used as it is. It's a main road, and keep the small residential road free of that. And by keeping the bridge and doing these traffic measures, that should help. There was one point, I have read the detail of what was presented by the councillors. There's a strange thing saying the hospital wants a two-lane bridge so that they can get out that way if Walker Street floods. Now, to me, that sounds strange. If Walker Street bridge floods, then we should be addressing that issue maybe before, because that just seems a nonsensical argument to me that we've got to open up Froome's Road because Walker Street floods. I've been here since 1969. I don't remember any problem with Walker Street flooding. I could be corrected. So again, I ask you to just consider that we install these traffic calming devices and restore the bridge and keep it one lane. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Next, please.
Mayor, councillors and council staff, my name is Lisa Pollard. I spoke at the previous Shire or council meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to speak regarding the Froomes Road Bridge. Residents living in the area and the wider Castlemaine community understand and value the natural beauty of Froomes Road, Botanical Gardens and Mary Street precinct, and the need to protect the heritage, environment and amenity of the area. Mount Alexander Shire Council has identified and obviously supports protection of this precinct as they implemented the 6 overlays and ensure compliance of the overlays by the property owners on Froomes Road, Burnett Road, Bateman's Wall and Barker's Creek, and close to the Botanical Gardens, which includes heritage, Indigenous, rural, significant landscape and environmental. Local residents in the precinct are required to comply with the overlays in order to protect and maintain the historical significance of the property's landscape and environment. It is totally bewildering to me and a lot of other people that the bridge falls outside these overlays, given that it adds to the heritage of the area. Building of the bridge commenced in 1873 by James Ross and 15 prisoners who were assigned to hard labour working on the roads within the Shire. They were from the Castlemaine jail. One resident's property that adjoins the bridge and finishes midway through Barker's Creek requested to build a simple fence so that they could secure their property. Their initial request was rejected. After many consultations with Mount Alexander Shire officers, they only may be allowed to build or put in a simple wire fence. This seems ironical, as council is not required to adhere to the same strict requirements and the proposal to put an unsightly 2-lane massive bridge with extended galvanised railing on the east and west ends of the bridge. An example is the Friars Road Bridge, and that's a lot smaller than the one that's been proposed by the council. How is this considered acceptable, given it is at total odds with the heritage overlay on the precinct? Mount Alexander Planning Scheme and Urban Design Guidelines state planning is to prevent environmental and amenity problems by siting incompatible land uses closely together, along with protection of biodiversity. That is the council's own planning design guidelines. Councillors should be looking to protect this area, not obliterate the area, by increasing traffic and encouraging particularly large double bogey, semi-trailers and commercial traffic as an alternative route to industry. Increased vehicles and trucks are detrimental to the survival of significant landscape and environment, let alone rural living. Unfortunately, the abundant wildlife and birds do not survive an encounter with vehicles and trucks, as we've seen evidence on the road many times with the echidnas and snakes and lizards and whatever else. A Harley-Davidson motorbike opening up the throttle and letting rip at 4:40 in the morning, every morning, using the road as a Grand Prix circuit and continuous traffic throughout the day until well past midnight does not comply with rural living.
Can you wind up now,
Yep, I'm
please?
just about to finish. Thank you. Councillors have the chance to ensure that this does not occur. I respectfully urge councillors to consider all of the local residents, FRAG and wider Castlemaine community concerns as supported by the petition of nearly 1,000 signatures and leave the area as is untouched for the benefit and current and future generations, not commuters to industry. Support the residents and work with Vic Roads to reduce the speed limit and include severe treatments to the entry into Froomes Road and Mary Street that complement the surrounding area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name's Tamison Dale. I'm part of the Froomes Road Action Group. I've walked over that bridge since a child walking to school. I walk over it now as an adult. The area is one of the most significant areas in Castlemaine that has not changed in decades, and that is the way we'd like to keep it. The single lane bridge, of course, if it's unsafe, we would like to have it replaced, but with a single lane bridge. And surely the cost of constructing a single lane bridge as opposed to the cost of constructing a double lane bridge is less, as is the maintenance of a single lane bridge and compared with a double lane bridge, leaving extra money to be spent elsewhere in the community where it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Christian Alexander here. I'm talking on a different matter. I came across the other day while I was looking around something called the Victorian Neighbourhood Battery Initiative, and it's a consultation paper. It's got something to do with DULIP, Department of Energy, Water and all the rest. And the closing date for, you can either submit do a little survey, checkbox thing, and then submit that, or you can actually write them a letter. And I was thinking Castlemaine with its fairly high percentage of solar might be a good place for one of these trial batteries to take place. Yes. Any question?
Sorry. Somebody want to ask a question? Bill?
Could you get us some more detail, perhaps?
Can you speak up, please, Christian?
Give you more detail, yeah.
Yeah.
It was advertised. It's not a.
That was it?
Yeah, it's advertised. I'm sure we have it. We'd have it.
What was that? Sorry.
It was advertised, and I'm sure that our officers have got it.
Oh, yep. Okay. I did. Yeah. You can find it on the internet.
Yeah, but
So do you have a question? The question is, would you like?
Oh, well, the question is, could we have a community battery in Castlemaine? That's the question.
Okay.
Can we look into that, Mr. CEO?
We can look into it.
Yes, sorry, Mayor. I believe that there is a group that's looking into that, and they have been in consultation with us about that. We weren't intending ourselves to make a submission, I understand, but we have been asked to support others in their submission, I believe, councillors.
Yeah, I imagine, I haven't contacted MASH about it or Mount Alexander Solar Homes, but I imagine they probably know about it. I'll email them as well. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Christian. Next question, please.
Hello, my name is Lynn Jenkins. I've lived in the area all my life. I just wanted you to have thought to the fact that there is a pony club down the road. I'm a regular rider of the area and have been all my life, but I'm still riding now. To put a 2-lane bridge would just seriously make it so dangerous for horse riders. I just wanted to make that point and to consider the pony club down the road and, you know, the young riders around travelling the road.
Sorry, can I
Thanks for that. Councillor Henderson.
get a bit of clarification on that? You're saying that a double lane bridge would be dangerous for horses?
Well, it would make more traffic, it would make fast traffic, and trucks would...
Even with traffic calming measures to slow down vehicles?
I think if you do the calming measures, I think trucks will go that way anyway. It's the shortest route. That's
Right.
what they do. They go the shortest way. But I just wanted to give you, for you to consider the pony club down the road and horse riders.
So you ride your horses to the pony club, you don't float them?
No, we ride around the area and we travel along that road. We go down Burnett Road, we go up Froome's Road, Odgers Road, Richards Road. I don't do pony club anymore. I used to, but there are riders around and it just hadn't been brought up. I just wanted you to consider the riders.
Thank you.
The safety.
Thanks for that. It's a good point about the pony club. Okay. Yes, Councillor Maltby.
I did have another question.
Sorry?
Another question for Lynn.
Sorry, can you come back? We've got another question for you, Councillor Maltby.
Lynn, how do the floats get to the pony club now?
Most probably do float.
Up Walker Street?
No, they go up Froome's Road and Richards Road. A bit of both, I suppose. Yeah. But you do get the ones just riding, so.
Yeah, no, but I was asking about the floats, sorry.
Yeah.
So you're saying they currently go up
They do
Froome's
go
Road?
up Froome's Road, yep.
Float and get through.
And if there was calming, wouldn't that upset the
Well,
elements of the float?
I think if you had like speed humps, they
Yeah.
would, but if you had those tabletop ones, I think that would be fine. Are you thinking that tabletops would stop trucks? Because I don't think it would. Yeah.
I'm asking about the floats at the moment.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We ride together and I float them. So
Excuse me, it's one person at a time. Have you got your answer,
Got my
Councillor
answer.
Maltby? Thank you.
don't need him.
So what's your name, sorry?
Please. Sorry. Lynn and I horse ride together and I'm the one that does the floating. So I thought Bill was asking about floats on that road.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's all right for me to answer. So I do sometimes, obviously with horses, you have to go slow anyway, and on a 1 lane anyway. And I do sometimes have to float the horses on Kennedy Street across those speed humps there. And it's no issue. We go very slowly with horses in a horse float anyway. Does that answer help at all?
Thanks.
Not horsey, I guess you wouldn't know.
That's true.
Thanks for that. Next, please, up the back.
We're out of time, actually.
2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Brian Cunningham. I'm a resident of the town. I love living here. I like the town a lot. My question is in 3 parts, which broadly covers a lot of the issues which I hear being raised. What I would like to know is what strategic planning is being undertaken by council to develop the town in a way that will look at the pressure on regional towns to take more residents. What does this mean for the infrastructure and what forward planning is done to cope with that pressure? And is the council in a position with any strategic plan to lobby the state government for funding of infrastructure projects in this area, which might examine a whole range of things that are currently being irritants to the residents? And finally, what strategy will there be to bring the residents on board with all of these developments to make sure that the community is fairly represented? So I'm happy to have this question taken on notice. If somebody can answer these now, that'd be brilliant. And that is my only question in 3 parts.
Just hang on a moment. Yes, look, you made quite a few points there. We'll take that on notice and we'll get back to you on that. Thank you.
Okay. One final.
No, it's not a debate. I'm sorry. You've asked your question. That's it.
I was going to help Bill Maltby, but I can help him later if that.
Thank you. Next, please.
You're getting a lot of offers there, Bill. You need help, mate.
Councillors, can I have a motion to extend public question time? Councillor Maltby, have a seconder. Councillor Gardner, all in favour? Another 20 minutes, I think. Thank you. Yes, now you can speak.
Okay. Thank you, councillors and council staff, for the opportunity to present my position in relation to the Froome Road Bridge. My name is Frank Carroll. I've lived in the area for 50 plus years. Some time ago, the area, going back a number of years, the council designated the area as a local area precinct, and including in that was a local traffic area precinct. And that was prior to KR shifting from their current location to the northern end of Richards Road. Traffic numbers at the time were around 300. Currently, they're 1,400 per day. With a proposal to upgrade to a two-lane bridge and extend the type of vehicle which can travel that road, there is the potential for it to increase to around 2,000. Now, I do not believe that will be in keeping with what council previously had and designated that as a local traffic area. Council officers, when we met with council officers, they agreed with that and have made a submission to reduce the speed limit from the current 60 kilometres per hour to 50 and to install 4, possibly 6 road calming measures. Now, that sounds good, but the road calming measures will need to be of a nature that actually do work, because I've seen quite a lot that they still attempt to speed over them, even though they may damage their car. So it will be the nature and type of the road calming measure that will be successful in that road. There was comment about emergency access times for emergency vehicles. Now, in doing that, just ordinary traffic travelling down Downs Road to KR car park, the time frame is about 2 minutes 34 seconds. To use the Froome's Road access to KR, it's about 2 minutes 20 seconds, a difference of about 14 seconds by going down Downs Road. In terms of ambulance, going from Downs Road to Hospital A&E, it's about 2 minutes 13 seconds, and that's without lights and sirens. Froome's Road, 2 minutes 27 seconds because of the nature of the road, and they have to slow down to access Bedard Street, going up Bedard Street to the hospital, because that street is lined on both sides with vehicles, so that access is limited. So the difference there again is 16 seconds, which again, really in terms of travelling down a safer road and gaining access to those two organisations, that should be the preferred route. With a CFA, the current load limit on the bridge is 30 tonnes, and to my knowledge, that will cater for all the local and regional fire units, including the one from Bendigo. In noting that If those measures are taken along Froomes Road, the travel response time for all vehicles will increase because of the road carving measures, and therefore Downs Road access would be quicker and safer for all vehicles.
Can you wrap it up, please, Frank? You've had your 3 minutes.
Sorry?
You've had your 3 minutes. Can you wrap it up, please?
Oh, okay. 3 minutes compared to the other. Okay, I'll just go to the last bit. The concerns raised in the presentation concentrate on traffic issues currently experienced with a one-lane bridge. These issues will be greatly exacerbated with a two-lane bridge. However, the retention of a one-lane bridge that currently allows access for all services, as well as acting as a speed deterrent, along with the installation of traffic calming measures, will deter traffic, particularly large commercial vehicles, from using this road. Therefore, reducing the impact on the local amenity and restoring the traffic numbers to a number that is in keeping with the definition of a local traffic area. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Frank. Councillors, any questions for Frank? No, it looks like we've got it covered. Thank you. Next, please. Must be nearly there, are we? Yeah, there's one there.
Good evening, councillors and staff. This is on a different issue altogether. It's referring to...
Please introduce yourself.
Sorry?
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Mike Tolland. I'm representing the community of Yappeen. And it's to do with our speed limit petition, which we've presented to through our councillor to council tonight. I think there were 77 letters of petition signed by residents of Yappeen. It's to do with the fact that Vaughan Springs Road, passing through our community, is a 100k speed limit. We're asking for a reduction in that speed limit and support from the council to represent us at Vic Roads to reduce that down. We believe 60 mile per hour or 60 kilometres per hour is the relevant speed limit. I know we would probably get an 80 kilometre speed limit through a hamlet, the hamlet definition on Vic Roads, but 60 kilometres is more appropriate, and we're looking for that, please. If I can take you, councillors, I would assume fairly aware with the road out to Vaughan Springs. You come off the Midland Highway, turn left, and about 300 metres later, there's a sharp turn to the right. Another 500 metres, there's a veer left of about 30 degrees. And then about another 800 metres, there's a very sharp turn to the right again, with off-roads coming onto that. The basic signage that's out there at the moment is that on that very last corner to the right, sharp corner to the right, there's a recommended speed limit of 40k there, but it also has the problem that once you go around that corner, if you're travelling west coming towards the Midland Highway, you slow down to 40, and as soon as you get round, you accelerate, and cars then on a slight downhill run, the speed there is, it's not healthy for the number of people living on that road. Currently, there are 30 odd houses along that road, either almost onto the road or with gateways leading to the road. There are now, from that corner down to the railway line, some 20 odd school-aged or younger children living along that road. The road is used excessively by tradesmen's vehicles because the development out there has been, over the last 4 years, has been going ahead with numerous houses being built. There are 5 more blocks being developed or being sold. One of them is being developed currently. There are 2 houses up School Lane, which is close by.
Time's up. Can you wrap it up now, please?
Thank you. And 1 more house being due to start very shortly. So we're asking, please, will you support our claim with Vic Roads for a reduced speed limit along that road? And I know it will take time to come through with Vic Roads. So in the meantime, I'm asking council if they will support us with some advisory signage to help us avoid what could well be quite a disastrous accident.
Thanks for that. Councillors, have we got any questions? Councillor Driscoll?
Mike has sent me an email which I've passed on to our director, and the Vic Roads, who's the regulatory authority for speed limits. We've logged a customer service request on their behalf, and the engineering team, they do to conduct a speed test assessment. When it comes back to us, then we can make a decision, is my understanding.
Thanks for that, Councillor Driscoll. Any further questions, councillors?
I'd just like to confirm that you have no speed limit through your PIN currently?
It's 100k along there. The only speed limit sign is an advisory signage on that turn.
I know it well. It saved me from going off the road a couple of times. Now I realise. And have you ever attempted to have a speed restriction on the road in the past?
No, not to my knowledge, and I've been there 40 years or 44 years. And we continue to have a number of accidents, particularly on that corner. 3 weeks ago, there was one that wiped out some of the sharp arrow turns signage.
Right.
Yes.
Very dangerous. And
My
certainly
concern is for the younger
limit.
children nowadays and the elderly citizens who walk that road with no footpaths.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you, Councillor Henderson.
Thank you very much.
Great. Further questions from the gallery? All done. One more.
Good evening, I'm Colin Moore. Question about Farnsworth Street, nothing to do with the new development. I just want to know, can the council provide a time frame when some decisions are going to be made regarding the illegal fill that's been going on for over 12 months? We keep being told things are happening, and I'd like to be able to get a definitive date when something will be done. That's all.
Just hang on a moment. Director Holt.
Thank you, Mayor. As you are aware, we met on site to discuss the matter on the 29th of March, and we are committed to getting a resolution for you, but I think it's better that we take the time that's required to actually come up with the right answer rather than a quick answer. And so that's where we're at. We are working through the process. I understand it's taking much longer than you would perhaps like, but we are, along with you, committed to getting a resolution, but we want to make sure that when we come back to you and speak to you again, that we actually have a definitive answer around the solution to the problem. And it is taking time, I understand that, and we apologise for that, but right now we're still working through it, and I cannot give you a definitive answer, but I can give you my commitment that it's not forgotten. We're working away in the background to get a resolution for you.
I appreciate that, but I don't want to be in 12 months' time still saying you didn't negotiate it.
Yeah, no, so it certainly won't be 12 months' time.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Director Holt. Ladies and gentlemen, further questions, or we'll wind it up there? Thank you very much. Councillors, can I have a we've got one up there. Would you like to come to the rostrum?
Michael Rigg from Brown Street.
Sorry, can you speak up?
My name is Michael Rigg from Brown Street in Castlemaine. I had the opportunity of speaking to you about the Farnsworth Street site at the last council chamber meeting. I've read the recommendations of the planning conditions.
No, we're not able to discuss this council meeting because it's on the agenda and it's against our meeting rules. So we've already had the discussion in relation to this matter. So I'd ask you to sit down. Thank you very much.
Apologies. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if there's no further questions, I'll ask a councillor to move that we resume standing orders, please. Councillor Driscoll, seconded Councillor McClure. All in favour? Do this one first. Okay, just in relation to the Froomes Road Bridge, it's been brought to my attention, we've received a petition from the Froomes Road Bridge people, but the matter will be determined by council later this evening, but I just wanted to acknowledge that we have received the petition, so thank you very much for the people that put that together. There's a formal process to work through in relation to petitions, so there will be a formal response, but in terms of the Froomes Road matter, it will be determined this evening because it's on the agenda. Thank you. The other petition that was mentioned in question time is the reduction of speed limit through Yappeen Township. Council received a petition on the 1st of April 2021 from residents of Yappeen with 75 signed letters requesting a reduction to the current 100km/h speed limit on Vaughan Springs Road through the township of Yappeen. Councillors, do I have a motion? Yes, Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, the motion is that council receive a report on this petition at the next ordinary meeting of council on the 18th of May 2021.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Seconded Councillor Maltby. All in favour? Thank you very much for that. Committee reports, item 8 on our agenda. Goldfields Library Corporation ordinary board meeting minutes, CEO report and Castlemaine Library quarterly report. The minutes of the Goldfields Library ordinary meeting held on 11th December 2020 are attached and the CEO's reports attached. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Anea.
That the minutes of the Goldfields Library Corporation ordinary meeting, the CEO report and the quarterly report be noted.
Thank you for that, Councillor Anea. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henderson. Any objections? No objections. Councillor Anea, would you like to speak to the
I
report?
would like to speak. Thank you. So one of the great things I get to do as a councillor is be part of the library board. And it's really exciting because I love libraries and always have. So I get to sit on the board with our Director of Corporate and Community Services, Lisa Knight. And at present, Goldfields Library Corporation are undertaking their new library plan. And they're doing this with significant consultation with both their staff and their patrons. And it's particularly focused on how to bounce back from the impacts of COVID-19, which was pretty huge for the library. We've got a lot of feedback from the community about how destabilising it was when libraries shut. Our local library, Castlemaine, has really been going very well despite COVID. Some of the lovely things you might see around are the story walks. So 5 story walks throughout the Shire in Castlemaine, Harcourt, Campbell's Creek and Shooton, where you walk along with your children or just on your own if you're feeling like it and read a story as you walk. We also did some great outdoor baby rhyme time. We participated in the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And we did some Be Connected Zoom sessions for people who are feeling socially isolated. Something that's been decided recently, which I'm really excited about as a mother of small children, is that across all of the branches, we have decided to get rid of fines on children's books and junior fiction books, which is pretty great because I don't know about anyone else who has small kids. It's really hard to find where they put all their books. So this will be really nice. Just give us a little bit of a breather. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Anea. Any other councillors wish to comment on the library report? Being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. The next item is our proposed budget 21-22 for public exhibition. The purpose of this report is to present the proposed budget for council approval, to place it on public exhibition and invite submissions in accordance with the Act. The budget must be adopted by 30th of June 2021 or at a later date if decreed by the Minister. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Driscoll?
Yes, the motion is that we recommend as printed.
Thanks for that. Do I have a seconder, councillors? Councillor Gardner? Any objections, councillors? No objections. Councillor Driscoll, would you like to talk to the budget?
Yes, Mayor. In developing the 2021-22 budget, significant consideration has been given to our overall financial position, as well as the works and services necessary for our community. The councillors have worked together collaboratively over numerous sessions to deliver their first budget. The budget should be considered in the overall context of council's financial position. We have low level of borrowings. Our cash holdings are sufficient to cover the monies we owe, both short-term and long-term, to external parties, such as our suppliers and employees, the funds held in trusts, which we must return at a later date, future expenditure provisions, particularly to rehabilitate and cap the cells at the Castlemaine landfill, and funds set aside for future use in statutory and discretionary reserves. Council has spent a lot of time on this, and I think it's a good budget.
Thanks for that, Councillor Driscoll. Other councillors? Councillor Gardner.
I did move it second. Yes, this is my fourth budget, I think. Before I say anything, I really need to acknowledge the work of, I think we're using formal titles, Director Knight and her executive manager, I just know it's Caroline, who have really, executive manager corporate services, Caroline Ross, and the people working done a lot of work. Obviously, when putting a budget together, the staff want things, community want things, councillors want things. The reality is we have only so much money, so not everyone can get everything they want. But overall, it is a good budget, I think, as Councillor Driscoll has indicated. We are planning on a surplus, which is good, operational surplus coming out of COVID, and repayment and drawing down of debt, which I think is a good thing. So it is a financial responsible budget. We have freezed the waste charges, and we will be doing a lot of work in the waste space coming up as well. So that'll be good. We've probably got more work to do, and I think we will continue to talk about operationals, efficiencies and improvements, and that'll be an ongoing discussion. And for me, I'm looking forward to the continuation of the Malden streetscape, and also some work on Fogarty's Gap Road, which are two big things that I'm really excited about. So I would encourage my local community to make submissions and have comments.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Other councillors? Councillor Henderson?
I would just have to say that the Metcalfe community are very excited that they might finally have an electric barbecue in their beautiful reserve to replace the wood-fired one, which has been there from times past, into time immemorial.
Sounds like a barbecue coming up. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Anea.
This is my very first time going through the budget process, and it was honestly a bit terrifying staring it down because I don't know very much about finance. So I guess I would just like to also say a huge thank you to our Executive Manager of Corporate Services, Caroline Ross, who made time to sit down with me and really clearly explain things like amortization and depreciation and a bunch of other things that I did not understand before and do now. In fact, I almost understand rate capping at this point, which is incredibly exciting. It was much more positive a process than I thought it would be. And I felt really good working as a team with the other councillors. I think we did a really good job and it was a really pleasant experience, which surprised me because I did not think it would be. So that was what I would like to say on that.
Thanks for that, Councillor Anir. Other councillors? Okay, just if I could make a couple of comments before we move on. There's some really great things in this budget, but it is a financially responsible budget. One of the things is, which is a little bit of a leap of faith, is unlike last year's budget, we haven't budgeted for a COVID response this year. So hopefully that comes to fruition, that we don't need it. But in terms of the overall budget, it is a very responsible budget, and we've budgeted to be able to take advantage of any grants that require council contribution that may come up through the year. So that puts us in a very good position, so that we. Coming out of COVID, we're hopeful there will be some further grants. We do get all sorts of grants from both state and federal government, but sometimes they require a contribution for council. So we'll be able to manage that if that comes up. Just a couple of other things that I would mention. There's going to be a Welcome to Country installation at the Castlemaine Visitor Information Centre, and I'd like to acknowledge the work done by our Visitor Information Centre. It's fantastic, and I just think I was talking to one of the volunteers at Buddha over the weekend, and they were saying what a great job our Visitor Information Centre do, referring people up to Buddha, and the numbers there are going through the roof at the moment because people coming out of Melbourne, they're looking for something to do. So great work. A couple of other things I'll mention quickly is that we're planning to progress the Camp Reserve Master Plan by getting some detailed planning there for sports community pavilion and netball courts. So that's great to hear. Doing lots of road works. One of the projects, and it's always difficult to get funding for, is things like the Newstead Levy Bank, but preparations are underway to do that, and it's been talked about for a long time. But you know, if you've got the council in good financial shape, then you start to be able to tick off some of these difficult projects. So it's a really good one. The other one is there's going to be small town streetscape improvements for Campbell's Creek, Elphinstone, Taradale, and you know, I think some of our satellite towns, you can already see the improvements there. But look, there's lots in there. So what we want you to do is to get yourself a copy of the budget, have a look at the budget, and we do receive submissions, and we have a special meeting next month where we hear submissions, but also we'd like to the community input in relation to the budget to do it before we do any final tweaking to adopt the budget for next year. So thanks for that. CEO, would you like to comment on anything? So Councillor Henderson.
Sorry, Mayor, I've just reminded me of something. I've got a question for the CEO in relation to last year's budget, where a public submission was made by someone suggesting we put some money into new Christmas decorations, and we accepted that and put it into the budget. However, the COVID sort of put paid to that. But my question is, will that be happening this year?
Don't be a Grinch, Darren.
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. We are working on that as we speak, Mayor. Actually, we are trying to find exactly what it is we might do with that money that council's allocated. Yes, we did miss last year due to a number of things, including COVID. But, we won't miss it again.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Henderson and CEO. So just wrapping up, I'd also like to acknowledge the work of Carolyn Ross and her team, but also all the directors and all the councillors and all of the staff at the council in putting the budget together. It's a very substantial document, and I recommend that as many of you as possible get a copy of that and have a look through, because it's not set in contract until it's adopted. So there's still an opportunity for a little bit of fine tuning to get your project up if it's not in there. So there being no opposition to the budget, I declare the recommendation moved by Councillor Driscoll carried. Thank you. Councillors, 9.1.2 Audit and Risk Committee Biannual Report, 1st of July to 31st of December 2020. I have a motion, please, councillors. Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, that council notes the Audit and Risk Committee biannual report for the period 1st July 2020 to the 31st of December 2020.
Do I have a seconder, please, councillors? Councillor Maltby. Any opposition, councillors? Councillor Driscoll, would you like to talk to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. In accordance with the committee charter, the report has focused on how the committee has discharged its responsibilities under the charter. The report details how responsibilities have been discharged and how they will be managed in the future to ensure compliance with all requirements. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Driscoll. There being no opposition, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. 9.1.3, appointment of new Community Asset Committee members for the Bill Woodfull Reserve. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Gardner?
As printed.
Thank you. Seconder, please.
Seconded.
Councillor Maltby? Any opposition? Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to the report?
Oh, look, briefly, I mean, Bill Woodfull wasn't on the list at last council meeting. There was some administrative matters to be dealt with, which now have, and it's just recommending or the list of dedicated people who will turn up every month and try and look after the Bill Woodfull, and good on them.
Thank you for that. Councillor Maltby?
I'm fine.
I'd just like to acknowledge the work that all of our community asset committees do. They do a fantastic job. So it's great to see. So this one is all sorted now. So there being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. (9.1.4) Councillors, adoption of gift policy. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Gardner?
Yeah, as printed.
Have a seconder, please. Councillor Annear, any objection? Doesn't look like there's any objection. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, so this is actually quite an important policy, and it covers councillors. And I think the important thing here is to notice it sort of puts on councillors quite a high level of expectations, because it's not only gifts, it's any offers. So if we are offered anything or gifted anything, we have to declare it. So I do believe this obviously brings a higher level of expectation and behaviours from councillors, and I would hope that everyone would support it.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Any further, councillors? There being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. 9.1.5, planning application PA 199/2019-37A and 37B, Farnsworth Street, Castlemaine. Councillors, I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, as printed, recommend the council issue a notice decision to grant a planning permit.
No seconder for that.
Seconded.
Councillor Maltby, is there any opposition to it? There is some opposition to it. Okay, so would you like to talk to the motion, Councillor Gardner?
Yeah. So this was never going to be easy, this one. Obviously, there's ongoing issues still in Farnsworth Street, but for me, when looking at this permit, they're not relevant. It's a standalone thing. There is obviously a local passionate group who doesn't want this to happen, and I understand that. The core thing, though, I think most of the locals object to is through the heritage. And for me, I know that there was a report done through Mandy Jean, who was the heritage advisor for council. She highlighted some issues, and the recommendation covers all them off. The other important thing for me was Heritage Victoria was asked for a referral. They did not oppose the permit. And the comment that dwellings were adequately sited below the registered building and materials considered appropriate. Obviously the report has made quite a number of recommendations that needs to be fulfilled by the people who build it. So for me, I believe it does meet the heritage overlay requirements, and that was supported by Heritage Victoria. So that's why I would recommend the officer's recommendation as printed.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Mulbert, do you wish to go now or reserve yours till the end?
I'll wait to the end.
Okay, other councillors? Got some opposition? Wish to speak to it, Councillor Adair?
Sure, okay. This is a really tricky one. I'm very anxious right now.
You'll be fine.
Yep, okay. So I guess there was a lot of information that came with this. Most of this huge stack of paper next to me is to do with this application. So there was a lot of reading to do, as well as all of the objections we received and the applicant objector meeting that we held 2 weeks ago. There has been a lot of reading, there has been a lot of listening. At the end of the day, I don't believe that this development is appropriate for the heritage overlay within which it sits. I think the heritage overlay states that new work should defer to the character of the heritage overlay, and I don't believe that the two adjoining two-storey townhouses will be deferential. They are both dense and bulky and tall, and I think it would be dangerous to set a precedent of this kind of development so next to a significant heritage house.
Thanks for that, Councillor Adair. Anyone on this side of the table want to talk? Councillor McClure.
Rosie has said it all pretty well much, Mr Mayor, but one of the items in the report, or one of the objections that's come across a number of times, was the dwelling siting and the built form are not consistent with the heritage character of the neighbourhood, particularly the two-storey style of built form. And I agree with that premise, and that's what my main objection to the proposal is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm a developer in other areas, not here, and I just think that the double-storey townhouses is pushing the envelope. I think it's a great area and it fits, and I don't think this planning application fits in to that particular area. So I have the ability to knock it back, and that's what I'm doing.
Thanks for that. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to comment? Councillor Mulby.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I support the recommendation because there's conditions in the recommendation that actually deal with the height of the building, deals with the fact that the buildings need to be more sympathetic in the roof form and reduce the visual bulk of the unbroken block form. But if you walk around the neighbourhood there's already double-storey buildings being built over the last 10, 15 years. The historic nature that many of the objections refer to hasn't existed for a long time. The application has to be, by this recommendation, modified to fit in. That's why I'm supporting it.
Thanks for that. Anyone else wish to speak before we have the vote? So we've got a recommendation here to grant a planning permit. All those in favour? Those against? Against. Well, thanks for that, councillors.
Can I call for a division, please, Mayor?
You may call for a division, councillor Henderson.
I call for a division.
All those in favour, put your hand, please. Got that, Gussie? All those against? Thanks for that. So, councillors, we must determine this matter. Do we have another motion? Councillor Anea.
I have an alternative recommendation. It is as printed apart from condition 1.A, which instead reads, amended dwelling design for each lot to include a more sympathetic roof form and increased articulation to reduce the visual bulk of the unbroken block form. The majority of the built form of both dwellings must not exceed the reduced level, RL, of the dominant parapet line below the crenellations of the dwelling at 37 Farnsworth Street. The highest point of any roof apex must not exceed the RL of the ridge height of the dwelling at 37 Farnsworth Street.
Thanks for that, councillor Anea. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McClure.
Mayor, could I ask, can I propose a slight amendment to councillor Anea's motion, which I believe can be incorporated without need to actually debate an amended motion? I just wish to make a small adjustment to clause 9 of what she proposes. As we've seen, all the clauses remain as per the officer's recommendation apart from clause 1. And I'd just like to amend clause 9C in regard to landscaping and vegetation retention. Clause C refers to the second sentence, says that species must consist of at least 80% indigenous species. And I would like that to be clarified to say that is of the local area, indigenous to the local area, and also to add of the correct environmental vegetation class, EVC. I think that's the right one, just so to ensure that species that are going to flourish there are used rather than inappropriate species and ones which will fit in. Is that acceptable to Councillor Anea?
Councillor Anea, is that acceptable?
I find that acceptable.
Okay, can you get it down in writing, please, Christine?
So just to clarify, so 1, height limit, and 2, now you want
the native
species
of local area.
Local area species.
Do you know what they are? Do they exist?
No, you can consult the EVCs, you can consult the...
Okay, so I think we understand the motion. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor McClure? Is there any objection?
Yeah, I'll object.
Councillor Gardner?
Could I have a clarification of?
Yes.
The altered part?
Sorry?
The altered part 1A, what difference in the height?
Hang on, I lost it. Here it is. It says, the majority of the built form of both dwellings must not exceed the reduced level of the dominant parapet line below the crenellations of the dwelling at 37 Farnsworth Street. The highest point of any roof apex must not exceed the reduced level of the ridge height of the dwelling at 37 Farnsworth Street.
So the difference between below the roof height and?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you not have this?
Yeah, well, no, I haven't got your alternative motion.
Do you want me to read it again?
What are you saying the difference is? The original motion talked about there shouldn't be more than the roof height?
Yep.
You're saying they shouldn't be?
They can't be above the reduced level of the dominant parapet line. So the bottom below the crenellations,
Right.
which are the things that look like that.
What's that word?
Crenellations.
Thank you.
I Googled it earlier.
Okay, thanks for that. We've got a mover and we've got a seconder. We've got objection. Councillor Neer, would you like to talk to your motion, please?
Sure. If I may, I will say the word crenellations again because I think it is a fantastic word. I don't have a problem with development. I don't even have a problem with development in a heritage area. I think we need more housing, obviously, as we're facing a housing crisis. But I do think that the heritage of the area is really important. I grew up with an archaeologist for a father and a historian for a mother. I have spent half of my life out in the bush while my dad points at crumbling rock and tells me how important it is. And I did not appreciate that very much as a child, but it has rubbed off on me. And when I looked at this application, I did not mind there being development, but it did seem too tall, too bulky. The houses were too close together. When I read Amanda Jean's Heritage Assessment Impact Study, the planner said, this is from her study, the planner goes on to say, while there may not be any buildings of the same density and height, such as two-storey townhouses, there are other more recent developments located within the surrounding area. This does not mean, however, that two-storey developments cannot occur. And while there are some two-storey developments there, most of them are set down. They are not high, they are not overwhelming. And I do not think that now is the time for us to set a precedent of building very bulky, modern housing right next to a beautiful heritage house that will overwhelm it. Again, I am not anti-development. I just think the houses that are proposed are not suitable for this area. And I think it would be disappointing to lose that heritage character.
Thanks for that, Councillor Anir. Councillor McClure, would you like to speak now?
I just wanted to support Councillor Anir by saying that I believe the intention of the motion is for single-storey dwellings rather than double-storey dwellings, which I think are appropriate for that heritage precinct. The officer acknowledged in their report that the modern design of the proposed dwellings is likely to cause buildings to stand out within the streetscape, and that's my main objection. So I support Rosie's motion in this instance. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor McClure. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak for the opposing?
I'm the only one opposing. I mean, my reason for opposing the amended one is, there's probably, well, the main reason is we are essentially tinkering with someone's plans, and we either support it or we reject it. But we're going to have a heritage discussion, so obviously we will. So heritage is formed around the Borough Charter, or what's called the Borough Charter of Heritage. Yep. And Rosie, you'd be well aware of it. So it's about the form and fitting in. Now, I think Heritage Victoria has said that they support it. We're not debating with the audience.
Thanks, Stephen.
So really, for us to be tinkering with plans and then making issues around plans is just nonsense. So that's why I'm opposing it.
Okay, thanks for that. Other councillors, please. Councillor Henderson.
Just a gentle rebuttal to my fellow respected councillor. The first recommendation, first part of the officer's recommendation is actually to submit amended plans, which is always the case in these things. But this one actually says, amend dwelling design for each lot to include a more sympathetic roof form, without crenulations, I suppose, Councillor O'Neill, and increased articulation, whatever that means, to reduce the visual bulk of the unbroken block form. The amended design must ensure that the overall height of the dwellings remains below the roof height of the dwelling at 37 Farnsworth Street. It then goes on to talk about changing the cladding, the external materials and finishes, which to me is a big part of what is presented by the applicant in their advertising material, as well as the stuff where the councillors are being shown, and is recommending a very different construction outwardly to what's seen. This, I think, Councillor O'Neill's motion is really firming up the overall height of the front building and ensuring that, in fact, it will be significantly below what is proposed, I believe. So I think it's more sympathetic. Personally, I've been half of a mind to oppose this completely. I remember somewhat reluctantly or hesitantly supporting a motion to approve a subdivision back in 2013, I think it was, 2 extra lots on that block. And at the time, the inference was that there would be 2 small dwellings, single story, on 60 square metres each of building envelope, with open style fencing to ensure that the view from the heritage building, the Castle House, across to the other heritage buildings to the north would be broken, unhindered. And what is there now is very large, opaque, solid wood and steel fencing, 2 metres high, and a much enlarged building envelope. So I find that development by stealth to a certain extent, or by dealing behind closed doors, which of course is not unusual. But I think that what was originally planned for that area and what council originally saw, this is the first time it's come back to council since that decision in 2013. So I think what Councillor O'Neill is doing is proposing a reasonable compromise given the situation. So I'll support it. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor. Okay, councillors, we have Councillor O'Neill's motion. I could just check with governance if you're satisfied you've got the detail of that, Gussie. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll put it to the vote, councillors. Those in favour? Those against? Its motion's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on. (9.1.6) Planning application PA 259/2020, 644 Barringup West Road, Barringup West. Okay, councillors, I have a recommendation. Councillor Maltby.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for a 2-lot subdivision dwelling excision.
Sorry, Councillor Maltby, I can't hear you. Can you speak up, please?
I'll move the council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for a 2-lot subdivision dwelling excision at 644 Barringup West Road, Barringup West, subject to the printed conditions.
We got a seconder.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Councillor O'Neill had a hand up first.
Oh, that's sorry, Councillor O'Neill, I didn't see you, love.
Is there any objection, councillors? Yep. So we have some objections. So Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. The way I see this application, it's a simple application for the farmhouse, a better term, to be taken off the major part of the farm and on a separate title. It's very simple as that. It won't affect the farmland. It will give the owner long-term confidence that his house, if he ever wanted to retire and sold his farm, he could stay living there. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. Councillor O'Neill, do you wish to speak now or later?
No, I'll wait. Thanks.
Okay. Other councillors against? Councillor McClure.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to read what the executive summary says, and that's what I believe. The application is not considered to represent an orderly planning outcome, as the proposal would set an inappropriate precedent for the fragmentation of productive farming land and would result in the proliferation of dwellings within the farming zone, as the balanced lot could be developed as of right. This consequential development would further result in loss of productive land on the balance of the lot, which is inconsistent with the purpose and decision guidelines of the farming zone and the relevant policies of FPPF and LPPF. The proposal does not meet the requirements of clause 22.04 for dwelling excisions and subdivisions within the farming zone and fails to retain agricultural land for productive purposes. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor McClure. Other councillors? Councillor Henderson.
This is a tricky one. And of course, the sense is, why not? I will point out to Councillor Maltby that this is not the farmhouse. And certainly when Councillor O'Neill and I went to visit, there was no pretence that this, in fact, was where the farmer and his wife live. They have a farm near the Loddon River, farm on one of the 4 lots that are actually part of this current farming property. 4.5 hectares is considerably larger than the rural property I live on. It's quite a lot of land, and I can appreciate why it's needed, because it includes an olive grove, a smaller one, and what you might call a wood block. So it's not good farmland. I suppose the olive grove could be counted as such, and a dam in there as well. It's a nice little rural property, not insubstantial in its own right, and I would see it be on the market quite soon if this goes through. The balance lot, the report from the officers makes it clear that this would be an acceptable proposal were the farmer, the owner, to consider adding another of their 4 lots, 4 current farming lots, in with the balance lot to create a larger property. But no, he definitely didn't want to do that. There was no suggestion it might consider that. He just wanted to take this excision, if you like, very large excision, out of the front paddock, if you like, and leaving a balance which is, as of right, able to support another house without a planning permit. So I agree with my fellow councillor McClure that it's not a good outcome for what is the best farming land in our shire. It was a pretty unfortunate precedent. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Gardner.
Yes. Oh, what am I doing? I'm supporting the recommendation. Look, I think we're overstating that it's going to see a proliferation.
The motion before us is to grant
a permit.
Yep.
Not as printed. And I'm speaking for that motion. Yep. Yes. Tony, understand that? Okay, cool. And so it is a small exercise. I mean, the current house is not lived in by the farmer. They do live somewhere else. I suppose in theory, it is possible that they could sell that 5-acre block. The excision is not of farmland. It's the house plus, as you mentioned, some olive groves and a little bit around it. I believe the person's taken these actions to actually strengthen his farm. I don't believe it's to undermine, subdivide, sell it off and flog it off. Now, would that be possible in the future? Possibly, but who knows what will happen in the future. The farmer himself, farming, as Tony in particular would know, is an expensive exercise. So he is doing this to try and secure his farming venture going into the future. And that's why I support the alternative recommendation to the one printed.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Driscoll, have you got anything to add?
No, look, I support the alternative recommendation. There's a bunch of conditions there. If he fulfills those, I think it'll be an important thing for him to do. But no, I'm supportive of this recommendation.
Okay.
Sorry, I haven't heard the conditions.
Any other councillors wish to speak that haven't spoken? No? Okay, so we've got,
What are the conditions?
Christine's Councillor Henderson's asking what the conditions are. Everyone hasn't seen them.
Well, they should have.
okay, Councillor Maltby, we've had a request that you read the conditions for approval out, please.
Oh, look, if they're pages and pages, it's okay. I'll have a look at them. Please.
2 pages.
Okay.
2 pages.
That's fine. Read.
Read. Okay. Use and develop, not to be altered. Use and develop, not to be altered. 1, the layout of the subdivision as shown on the endorsed plans must not be altered or modified unless otherwise agreed in writing by the responsible authority. General requirements. 2, the owner of the land must enter into an agreement with the relevant authorities for the provision of water supply, drainage, sewage facilities, electricity and gas services to each lot shown on the endorsed plan in accordance with the authority's requirements and relevant legislation at the time. 3, all existing and proposed easements and sites for existing or required utility services and roads on the land must be set aside in the plan of subdivision submitted for certification in favour of the relevant authority for which the easement or site is to be created. 4, the plan of subdivision submitted for certification under the Subdivision Act 1988 must be referred to the relevant authority in accordance with Section 8 of that Act. 5, all areas of disturbed ground must be stabilised and revegetated at the completion of the development to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. Drainage requirements. Number 6, the discharge of water from the land must be controlled around its limits to prevent any discharge onto any adjacent property or streets other than by means of an approved drainage system, discharge to an approved outlet in a street or to an underground pipe drain to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. 7, the subdivision must be drained to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. No damage to council infrastructure. Condition 8, any roads, footpaths or other infrastructure damaged as a result of the construction works, including but not limited to trenching and excavation for utility service connections, movement of vehicle and the likes, must be reinstated to the satisfaction of the responsible authority and at the cost of the permit holder. Environmental health requirements. Condition 9, all wastewater from the dwelling on lot 1 must be treated and retained within the allotment boundaries. 10, a reserve wastewater disposal field of equivalent size to the primary disposable field or larger must be provided for use in the event that the primary field requires resting or has failed. Goulburn Murray Water. Condition 11, an alternative wastewater disposal field must be shown on the plan of subdivision submitted for certification in the event that the existing septic system servicing the dwelling on proposed lot 1 requires upgrading, replacement, or works, and the size and location of the new wastewater disposal area must be in accordance with the EPA Code of Practice on site wastewater management and to the satisfaction of Council's Environmental Health Officer. Condition 12, any plan of subdivision lodged for certification must be referred to the Goulburn Murray Rural Water Corporation pursuant to Section 8(1)(a) of the Subdivision Act 1988. Permit expiry. Condition 13, this permit will expire if one of the following circumstances applies. The subdivision is not certified within 2 years of the date of this permit, or B, the registration of the subdivision is not completed within 5 years from the date of certification. The responsible authority may extend the permit if a request is made in writing in accordance with Section 69 of the Planning Environment Act 1987.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. Beautifully read.
Thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. Okay, so we're going to vote on Councillor Anir's motion to...
No, Councillor Maltby.
Councillor Maltby's motion to...
I get a go?
Sorry?
Then I get my go now?
Yes. Sorry, Councillor Anir, please go ahead.
A lot of the issues with this surrounded clause 2204, which discourages dwelling extensions except where the new lot contains a land area less than 2 hectares and the remainder of the land can be consolidated into an existing farm, which this proposal does not seek to achieve. And when I was reading that, I was struck initially by the word discourage because I find that in these kind of planning schemes, they don't use words like discourage instead of forbid, unless there is, you know, a way around it or there are exceptions. And then when I was reading the response to the council report provided by the applicant, in a discussion section, it says, it is considered to be particularly significant to the application that clause 22.04 utilises the word discourage in relation to the lot area of a dwelling excision, not forbid. This deliberate choice of language implies that there is recognition in the scheme that there may be instances where a larger lot size is a more appropriate choice for a site. The report goes on to speak about the alignment of the boundary proposed in the application, which will ensure that the agricultural area of the described land will remain intact. Additionally, when combining the size of the balance lot with the recommended section 173 agreement regarding the construction of future dwellings, it is considered that these 2 factors will prevent any loss of the agricultural land, either directly or as a result of the application. And I didn't know what a section 173 agreement was, but it's also in here, and it talks about typically these agreements specifying that no dwelling may be constructed on the lot for a period of 15 years. So I felt, and especially after going out there, taking a nice road trip with Councillor Henderson out to Barringup and meeting with the Zaras, I felt that what they were trying to do was consistent with them trying to run a profitable farm, not with trying to make a quick buck. That's done.
Thanks for that, Councillor Anir.
Can I close the debate when you're ready, please?
Sorry?
Can I have the last say as per meeting procedure?
We're going to vote on it now.
Let's me speak.
Councillor Maltby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proposal that we're voting on, this is written here in the planning application executive summary, seeks to excise this existing dwelling onto a lot measuring 4.5 hectares, which is over 10 acres in land area.
It's not where they live, though.
With the balance of the lot contained on 58.7 hectares. And access to the excised dwelling will be provided by carriageway easement to Barringup West Road. Councillor Henderson has said the 4.5 hectares already is a viable olive grove small farmlet. Taking that piece off the rest of the farm is not reducing the ability for the farm to be farmed properly. In fact, you may find the farmer, if he does ever sell this piece, can farm better because he's not looking after an olive grove as well.
He's got actually a larger olive grove.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. I think we'll move on now and we'll put it to the vote. So the motion is to grant a permit. Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Can we have a division, please, Gussie? Those in favour, please raise your hand. Got them? Those against? Thanks for that, Gussie. Nine 9.1.7 Strategic Risk Report. Councillors, I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Gardner.
The motion is as printed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor McClure. Any objection? Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, look, for some, this isn't very exciting. I mean, I do risk for a living sometimes. So this really is the strategic risk report against the register of council, and it's the first time we've done. So I'm looking forward to ongoing reports to council on it. Yeah, that's all there is to say. I would hope my fellow councillors will support it.
Thanks for that. Anyone else wish to speak? Doesn't want to. Being no opposition, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. 9.1.8. Adoption of draft procurement policy. Councillors, I've got a recommendation. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Henderson. Motion.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mayor, as printed.
Page 57.
I've got it. Adopts of procurement policy 2021, and council makes a copy of the procurement policy 2021 available on council's website in accordance with section 186A brackets 8 of the Local Government Act 1989, not 2020.
Thanks for that, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McClure. Is there any objection? No. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Henderson?
Well, it's a pretty important document, and it rolls on year after year with changes. Last year, it determines how council spends its money, and that's what council's in the role of. We spend money. We don't make money. We collect money, and then we spend it. And we must spend it in the best interests of the community that we serve, all 18,000 or so of us. And so in order to do that in a fair and highly visible manner, we must have a procurement policy that directs our officers how they spend the money. And that's really what this policy is all about. And it's goes in different levels, from up to $1,000, up to from $1,000 to $5,000, between $5,000 and $15,000, and then it's going up there between $15,000 and $60,000, and then over $60,000. And for each of those levels, there's rules as to how officers must act when they are spending the money, starting from getting a quote if they want, to having to do 3 written quotes, public advertising, up to, of course, a tender over a certain threshold where these decisions will then be signed off by the CEO, and if council so wishes, will be brought to a formal council meeting for endorsement or an approval. So this document is sets out how we'll do it and how we will have certain considerations, including a criterion which includes local content or equal benefit by employing local contractors, etc. And so we put a bit of a bias on if a local contractor puts in a quote or a tender bid, then they have to be given an increased consideration just to help along our local employers. But obviously, that's not the only thing that makes us decide how we're going to spend the money. Best value is what we're after.
Thanks for that, Councillor Henderson. Anyone else wish to add anything? Councillor Gardner.
I just want to reiterate, I suppose, the local content policy, and also within this, there's probably now a social policy gets a weighting, and it's 5%, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander business. So I think for me, council, as part of its business, is really trying to spend as much money as we can locally. And whilst probably not within this document, we have seen there has some certainly been more money spent locally and won by local contractors. And I just hope to see that continue going into the future.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Councillors, any further comment? Being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Thank you. Okay, 9.2.1, corrections amendment. The purpose of this is to seek council support to request authorisation from the Minister to prepare an amendment to the Mount Alexander planning scheme to correct errors and anomalies. And there's a lot of minor things that get picked up over time, and this is just to have our planning scheme as accurate as possible. Councillors, I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion? Councillor McClure? It is?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. As stated in the agenda, that the council resolves to seek authorisation from the planning minister to prepare Minister of Planning prepare a planning scheme amendment to the Mount Alexander planning scheme to correct errors and anomalies. That's a hard one. Anomalies in line with supporting documentation attached to this briefing paper. Wish I hadn't said that.
Thanks for that, Councillor McClure. We've got a seconder. Councillor Maltby. Any objection to this one, councillors? Would you like to talk to this one, Councillor McClure?
I want to learn how to pronounce the word properly, but no, look, it is basically, as said, it's just to correct a whole heap of minor planning anomalies that have cropped up over the years, and it's a formal process rather than anything else. So I'm happy to support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for that, Councillor McClure. There being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to thank the officers for their diligence. This is an ongoing piece of work that probably without end in terms of correcting anomalies, and it's when they collect a big enough batch of them up and then send them off to the minister at once to make correction. I would like to thank one of our officers for very kindly providing me with information about one particular one in Taradale in regard to the Italian gardens. And she provided me some background information on what was being changed there. And a bit of Taradale's history now disappearing into obscurity, but at least it has a heritage overlay still on it. In fact, it's been extended. So that was good to get.
Thanks for that, Councillor Henderson. I'm sure you'd be happy to know my great-grandparents were miners at Taradale, so it was all set up by my mob, so thank you very much.
Excuse me.
They're responsible for all those holes. I know. Right, okay.
Okay. We'll now move on to 9.2.2.
That's a lot of
Progression of Froome's Road Bridge Project.
Oh, yeah.
Councillor McClure will leave the room because he's declared.
Can I ask what's the nature of Councillor McClure's conflict, please?
You don't need to say, do you?
I think that needs to be on the record.
Councillor Henderson, I live in the area. I live around the corner. Most of the objectors are close friends of mine. I've been in a lot of discussion with them and I understand the basis of their objection, and I've been very badly conflicted with trying to make a decision on that, and I don't think it's fair. I think I have a conflict of interest, and so
Thank you. I can certainly appreciate that.
Thanks for that, Councillor McClure. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Maltby.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council approves the cancellation of the tender process and outcome in relation to contract M1450-2020 and approves the commencement of a new tender process to reflect the proposed changes in scope for the replacement of the Froomes Road Bridge. 2, approves a pre-commitment of $718,422 to be included in the 2021-2022 budget to deliver the project and enable the commencement of a new tender process, noting the bridge renewal grant funding is $480,000. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract, noting that the contract value is expected to be in accordance with the budget provision of $1.198 million, excluding GST.
Thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. Is there a seconder?
So that's as printed, Bill? As printed?
As printed.
Righto.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So we've got a seconder, Councillor Henderson. Any objectors?
Yeah.
Yes, there's some objection there. So Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Thank you. Look, there's been much community debate for and against this bridge project. And I, like I'm sure every other councillor here, has considered all the submissions, written and actually oral. And I've spoken to many people, not just the residents of the area, but people that use the botanical gardens, people that live in other parts of Castlemaine, people that work at the hospital and the bacon factory. The major issue seems to be about a single lane bridge or a double lane bridge. I don't think you can say that the natural beauty of the area by having a double lane bridge is going to be ruined dramatically, as long as the bridge is designed properly, as in looks and aesthetics. There's been comment about future traffic, and the council officers, from my reading and listening, have shown great empathy to the locals about trying to reduce the speed limit, trying and will add speed humps and other traffic calming measures. If this is not done, we've been advised that the bridge is past its use-by date. So you can shut the bridge, very simply, not rebuild it at all, turned into a pedestrian bridge, and the traffic in the neighbourhood will have to go down Merrifield Street, along Burnett Road and up. Or you can build a new bridge that will take the residential traffic mainly, and some people wanting to go to the Pony Club and to Muckleford via the bridge. It will also allow the CFA and other emergency services to use that bridge. If the bridge is not fixed and replaced, the CFA trucks will be going down Merrifield Street and Burnett Road to put out a house fire, which will add more than 2 minutes to their turnout time. It's also been suggested and mentioned that heavy vehicles will use this road because there's now a double lane bridge. That's not true. One may try, but once he's tried once, he won't do it a second time because of the construction and the contours of the whole area. And I do know of a well-known transport driver some 20 odd years ago did try to do that. And he's respected in that transport industry. And he said, I would never, ever try that again. It's not possible. It's not safe. And it would be silly to do it. There's been mention that the bacon factory people use it as a shortcut. I'm sure there can be measures made in the bacon factory car park of left turn only into Richards Road down to Walker Street that will encourage those employees not to take a shortcut. Similarly, once they've driven over those speed humps 3 or 4 times, they're not going to do it again. One of our people I know has given me other examples about speed humps. More and more people, if they have to drive over them regularly, will find another route to go. We can not build the new bridge, and lose the government grant. We can build a new bridge and make the area safer for pedestrians. I know a driver who tells me that last week, one night, he nearly ran over 2 people walking across that bridge because they were dressed in black to start with, but there was no footpath. This plan does have a footpath incorporated in it. Ideally, I'd prefer that it went through the gardens and the new bridge was built over the creek, but there is historic footings a bit further down. So, Mr. Mayor and councillors, I'm supporting the recommendation and moving it because I believe it's the right answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Maltby. Who else wishes to speak?
You seconded it, I think. You, sorry?
Christine or Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak now or later?
I'll wait, thank you.
Councillor Gardner.
Yes, so I'm speaking against. I think tonight, I think we saw, I did write it down, but I think I included the guy about the battery. So there was at least 10 people. We've got 800 odd on a petition. It's obvious the local community doesn't want it. So why are we doing it? And I think it was Brian who also said, what's your vision? What's your strategic plan? And funnily enough, we currently have out there called Your Vision for the Future, which is about that sort of thing, really. It's about the community telling us as councillors what they see their area and what the future is. It's quite obvious that people living on Froome Road don't want a double thing. That's their vision, that's their future. And we should be listening to that. I was reminded, I think, some time ago that I actually moved the motion to start this going, which I had forgotten about, as you do sometimes. And I think at that point in time, it was certainly, I mean, I like building things. I like to see things built. It certainly wasn't seen as that controversial in my mind, but it has definitely become something that is, the local community don't want it. I must admit, I have never used the bridge myself personally, and I drove up it the other week. It is lovely. Why would you want to change it? And despite, I think, Councillor Maltby, it will bring more traffic on it as soon as you open it up. There's no doubt about it. And why send the traffic up there? So for me, it comes down, and then also we do have heritage issues and possible environmental, although I know we do have a report that indicates that the butterflies aren't in that area, but it's there. It's in that area. It's there. You can talk, Christine, at the end. For me, another concern is that this bridge, which is a substantial investment for council, is somehow outside of a planning process with its usual sort of appeal mechanisms, and that's a concern for me as well. Ultimately, in the budget, it's $800,000, and I'm happy to save $800,000 as well for something the community doesn't want. So that's why I'm against it.
Thanks for that, Councillor Gardner. Councillor O'Neill, would you like to speak on this?
For or against?
To you.
Never.
Well, I think Councillor Driscoll wanted to go next.
Yes, okay. Councillor Driscoll, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. First, I want to thank the officers who've done a lot of work on this. 2 directors and the other officers. I know it's a lot of work, and I'm sorry that I'm going against your recommendation, but I'm against this. That's the first thing. Also want to thank the locals for their input. It's mostly been respectful. There had been a few dud emails, which were a little bit aggressive, but I understand it's an emotional thing. I've sat here listening to Ian, Elise, Richard, Sue, Tamazin, Lisa, Lynn, Frank. I think it's most of them, plus 820 odd petitions. People saying they don't want this. So we're going to spend our own money, $718,000. I don't understand why we can't spend a couple of $100,000 fixing the bridge up and leaving it as it is, as in my opinion, that the locals want. So I just want to, I'm not a planner. I don't profess to be a planner, but I just feel the vibe is that they don't want the bridge, and I just want to respect that. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Neer, anything to comment or
Sure.
hand over to Councillor Henderson?
This has been another really difficult one. At times, it has definitely felt like a bit of a lose situation. I have read all of the stuff on this and talked to a lot of people again, but for the first time today, I read these two very, engineering type reports. One called Austroads 2016 Guide to Road Design Part 3, fascinating read, and also the Infrastructure Design Manual, both of which are cited in the officer's report. Both of these reports, written by different authorities, identify that for roads such as this, 2 lanes of traffic should be provided where the indicative volume of traffic exceeds 150 vehicles per day. I agree that it is a beautiful area, but I think the officers and council would not have suggested building a new bridge for no reason. There are reports that say that this bridge needs to be replaced, and there are guides that say that if we replace this bridge, it needs to be with a double lane bridge. Initially, when this was put to the community, there was a lot of objections. And so council pressed pause and went back and did a lot of consultation. And through that, council has added not just a bridge, but also traffic calming devices and a pedestrian walkway, which I think is great because it is a bit of a scary road to drive on at times. And I think that from where I sit, my kid's dad lives at the end of a road which has lots of speed bumps on it. And I've driven that way once. And after I drove that way once, I decided every other time since then, which is twice a week, I don't know how long going forward, but for a long time, I drive a little bit further to avoid the speed bumps because it is unpleasant. I have a lot of friends who work at the Baco. Many of them are very into cars and driving, and I can almost guarantee you that most of them will be put off by driving over speed bumps because it is not the way they enjoy to drive. They like to drive very fast. I think the traffic calming devices will deter a lot of that Baco traffic from taking this route and make it a lot safer. But from where I'm sitting, having read all the stuff, we're being told that the bridge is unsafe and needs to be replaced. The reports that the officers and us are following maintain that it needs to be a double lane bridge. And so that is what I am suggesting as well and supporting. Sorry that you don't get to clap me this time.
Thanks for that, Councillor Anir. Councillor Henderson, would you like to have your say?
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly would. I think, like all my fellow councillors, I've heard from a lot of locals, and I appreciate that for the most part they've been very, very respectful in telling us about their beautiful bridge. I know this bridge well. I drive it frequently. I have family who live in the area, not in one of the beautiful houses, a bit further on in a modest little spot. However, it takes me over that bridge quite often. I certainly don't like turning right out of Merrifield Street. and I do drive slowly. I'm quite old. But I must say that the Froome's Road Action Group have been impressive. I mean, at the outset, this was just going to be another bridge replacement. Council has to build new bridges every year. We are the inheritors of, I think, something about 150 bridges that were built during the great years of the gold rush. Magnificent structures, some of them, absolutely magnificent. Replace bridges. This one, the Froome's Road Bridge, the original bridge, I believe, washed away and was replaced by using some of the original structure underneath, which is maybe a bit unfortunate. A new bridge went in the 1930s, probably not much money around then, and single lane, it would have been adequate for the time. It now needs replacing. It's not the best built one. It has, and look, it could probably soldier on for another 10, 15, even 20 years, provided, like that old car that really should have been traded in, but no, we'll just keep going with the car because we haven't quite got enough money, or we love that car very much. So we'll replace the differential and we'll replace the wheelbase and we'll replace the engine and we'll, do the suspension, and we'll keep pouring good money after bad into an old structure to keep it going till eventually you have to replace. That's the story with bridges. We do not want to get to that stage. So the bridge in Froome's Road, I would say, has to be replaced soon. If we put significant funds in to repair it, then we will need to do again in another few years' time. That will be the legacy we'll leave to the next council. We'll also lose the money, that almost $800,000 that the federal government has allocated for us to building that bridge. Why will we lose it? Because they will not tolerate, they will not accept that we would build a one-lane bridge when the Australian standards for bridge building, as written by Austroads, the collective of the Australian and New Zealand Transport Agency representing all levels of government. They're funded by Australian and New Zealand government transport agencies to determine what should be the correct build for bridges. They say for more than 150 traffic movements a day, and I believe that we know that there are about 500 across the Froome's Road Bridge, we must build a two-lane bridge. So there's no argument there from an engineering perspective. Engineering perspective is it must be two-lane. And also, I believe that it must be replaced now, not leaving it to a future council to then face the inevitable bill while putting money in year after year to fix it up. However, I must say to FRAG, they have done a fantastic job. They have drawn our attention to what is important. The first thing I heard from residents in that area was how bad the traffic was, how dangerous it was. And as a result of this organised action group, our infrastructure department has said that they, along with building the bridge, that's what the 1.198 million is for, not just the bridge, but also what were called traffic calming measures along Froome's Road and Mary Street. What a fantastic outcome. I never believed that could happen. I was scared of that road, going around Mary Street, that nasty kink in the road. And I think that will be a great outcome for that area. It will also stop any through traffic that's in a hurry. Absolutely, straight off. The walkway on a new bridge, brilliant. That's really good. I know it would be nice to put it in the gardens. However, we've got a conservation management plan for the beautiful gardens, and everything that we do there has to be approved or incorporated into that plan. A long, drawn-out process. Putting a walkway on the side of the bridge would be a great win, not just for the locals, for people walking in the gardens. You can nip out one side of the creek, in the other, and you've an extra circuit. And also the design of the bridge itself. It started out as a fairly utilitarian bridge structure. And look and behold what we have now, councillors. I mean, this isn't the final design, but a charming aspect of that bridge. It's white rails, etc. Has been incorporated. The stonework from the original bridge that got washed away, the stone abutments, they're to be incorporated there, visible, so that they could be seen either side of the bridge. There's so much work here proposed because of FRAG's action. So congratulations. But I'm afraid I cannot support replacing that bridge with a one-lane bridge. I can see why. I can understand why. But I really can't say that I would approve of losing $800,000 of federal government money, as well as damaging Mount Alexander Shire's reputation. If we want to get such funds in the future, the federal government will say, really? You really want it? Well, no, sorry, you built the wrong bridge. So as someone elected to represent the interests of the whole Shire community in my decision-making, I must support our infrastructure department and prove the building of a bridge which complies with Australian government standards, noting that this decision comes with effective traffic calming measures and a sympathetic bridge design complete with a pedestrian walkway. I believe this is a good result for all. Thank you.
Can I have a point of order, Mayor? Please.
Yep.
Councillor Driscoll. We potentially forego 480,000 from a grant, not 800,000 that you stated.
Sorry?
Oh, you stated that we would lose 800,000. Forego.
Beg your pardon, did I say
480,000?
800,000. I said 480,000, 500,000. Yeah.
Yeah, but you said 800,000. That's just a point of order.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have 4 old, beautiful cars that are still going strongly.
Thank you, Councillor.
See my old ute.
It is in the notes at 480, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens to that. Councillor Henderson, have you concluded?
I have.
Thank you very much. Councillor Maltby, right of reply.
Look, Mr. Mayor, as I said at the start, it's an issue that has got the community arguing for and against. Councillor Henderson and Councillor Anea have raised the issues of if a new bridge is to be built, it must be built to the right standards, and that is a double lane bridge. The easy answer, as I said earlier, was don't do anything. As Councillor Henderson says, don't do anything. Somebody in 15 years or 20 years, as our staff are advising us, the bridge is finished, it's life. That's not good corporate management. We are entrusted to do the right thing. The right thing is that that bridge needs replacing. And if we are to replace it, then we have to replace it with the right standard bridge under the regulations, etc. Yes, there is another $800,000 that could be spent somewhere else, Councillor Gardner and Driscoll, but there's many bridges. This is one of the first, I reckon, of another 10 that you will find in the next 4 or 5 years that are going to need doing. Galton Street's one. Terilta hasn't had a bridge for 27 years. And there's been councillors, none here, well, Christine's been trying to get it done, I know that, but there's been other councils that have just forgot about them and been negligent in their duties. Not everybody can win an argument, but if you build the bridge in keeping with the environment, etc., then it won't be an eyesore. If you make the traffic calming properly, as Councillor Anea says, there are mates that like driving fast cars. They're not going to go up and down Froome's Road after one episode, I can assure you. For the safety of the area, for the pedestrians of the area, There's only one answer, and that's the motion I've moved. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Maltby. Okay. Well, we've heard lots about Froome's Road Bridge. One of the comments I would make is that heritage is taken away one piece at a time. Councillors, we're here to represent our community. A lot of them have spoken here tonight. Those in favour of the motion to replace the bridge? 3. Those against?
3.
Looks like we have a casting.
We have a division.
Yeah, can we have a division, please?
Sorry, Councillor Gardner.
Might as well do a division. It's a division night, obviously.
Yes, we'll have a division. Thank you, Gussie. And as I have the casting vote, the casting vote is against, so no new bridge.
No new bridge, no traffic calming measures, no walkway. Not impressed, guys, not impressed.
Councillors.
No, Councillor McClure.
9.3.1. Terminate the agreement between the former Housing Commission, now the Department of Health and Human Services, and former Shire of Newstead, now Mount Alexander Shire Council for housing accommodation. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Driscoll.
Yes, that I move that council notes the deed of termination attached to this report, approves the termination of the agreement between the former Shire of Newstead and the Housing Commission dated the 22nd of December 1980, and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign the deed of termination on behalf of the council.
Second.
I have a seconder, please. Councillor Maltby. Any objection, councillors? Councillor Driscoll, would you like to talk to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Terminating this agreement will fully separate the responsibility for maintenance of the units and the preschool to their respective landowners. This is more aligned to council policy and does not include future future partnerships with the DHHS. Thank you.
Councillor Maltby, do you wish to speak?
No, that's fine. It makes common sense.
Okay. Other councillors wish to speak in relation to the matter? Being no objection, I declare the matter carried. Brings us to delegates' reports. Councillors, anyone wish to make a delegates' report? CEO.
Thanks very much, Mayor. I'll keep it quick. You've had a long night. You've all got a copy of the activities of ourselves over the last few weeks, Mayor, since the last meeting. And may I say also there's a few on there which recognise the activities of Director Knight, who has been acting as CEO for me for the last 6 working days to the end of last week at least. So thank you very much again, Director Knight, for doing that for me and allowing me to have a holiday, enabling me to have a holiday, and councillors for allowing me to have a holiday. Very much appreciated. Mayor, the main one I might just mention there, it's one that I know that you're all very interested in and that you've been involved in this very room, relating to the community-led movement in relation to trying to improve housing opportunities for people in the community. And I did attend the 10-year strategy working group meeting a little while ago, which was, as you know, there's multiple angles that the community groups are trying to respond to the housing needs from. And this was a group that was put together to do two things. One was to develop a response to the invitation from Homes Victoria in the development of their 10-year housing strategy. And the group did put something together. Mayor, you and I signed a letter of endorsement of the work that they're doing on behalf of council, and encourage the government to certainly pay strong attention to the suggestions that they've got. That group's not finished though. Their next step is to develop their own 10-year housing strategy for our community specifically. So that is continuing. I think they're meeting tomorrow night actually, and trying to do a lot of work in a short space of time. But I just wanted to note that it's a fantastic community-led initiative there, as I know all the councils appreciate, and I think we're going to see some great work over the coming year or two as a result of those efforts, Mayor.
Thanks for that, CEO. One event that I did attend, apart from the Malden Easter Fair, which I thought was a fantastic event. There's a few things going on at Malden in recent weeks, but one event I attended last weekend was the Mount Alexander Vintage Engine Club's rally at their site in Muckleford, and it was a fantastic event, and there was a lot of interest there. We had an evening function there, which our local member for Bendigo West, Maria Edwards, attended. So that was great to see her supporting that event, and it was a really excellent weekend. So it's actually the site where that's held is the Dave Bennett Reserve, and Dave Bennett bequested a significant amount of money to the Engine Club and enabled them to buy that site, and the facilities there are going ahead at a great rate. So it's really setting the scene for a fantastic event long term into the future. One of the best features about the site is it's right beside the Muckleford station, so particularly on the weekend the steam train goes through, which is it's a great turn up. Thank you. So we'll move on. 11 notices of motion is nil. Urgent special business is nil. Confidential items. We have 2 confidential items. So we have a recommendation, councillors. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move the council closes the meeting of Council 20 April 21 in accordance with section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 in order to consider confidential information.
Have a second, please. Councillor Driscoll. All in favour? Carried. Meeting's now closed to the public.